This is Hard Parking, brought to you by Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm your host, Jhae Pfenning, recording from my home studio in Gilbert, Arizona. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about cars, tariffs, and we're going to recap our trip to Long Beach for the Acura Grand Prix. Joining me in studio is Dre Day is back for Dre Day Volume 2. Dre, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you getting me back into the office. Or actually office studio.
Same difference. You're in the, redesigned studio as it gets a little different. You're another one of my test subjects. Every time I have a new guest in here, I kind of change how I'm doing stuff. But hopefully today's looks better on camera because I'm my own worst critic. Before we get going, this conversation is sponsored by Spark Forge. Dre, hit it.
All right. So business feeling whack. Too many tools, too much chaos, and not enough time. Arcus Foundry is here to fix that. With Spark Forge, you get a unified platform that connects everything you need. Your website, social media, phone systems, and more. No need for an expensive IT department or dealing with a bunch of separate systems. It's the all-in-one solution that saves you time and helps your business run smoother.
Save it.
Head over to arcusfoundry.com. and use the code HARDPARKED to get your first month free. Upgrade your tech and get back to business.
I don't know if anyone understood a damn thing you said.
What?
All right. Before we jump into our trip at Long Beach, figured we'd talk about some car news. Of course, the big hot topic right now is tariffs. Maybe we can hit it from an automotive standpoint. You do have some experience in this arena, dealing with cars for a long time. What do you think is going on with it? Have you had a chance to even look into it? It's a success, not a success. Obviously, it's too soon, in my opinion, in your opinion. But from the listeners, probably some car collectors, car part people that repair their stuff, people that buy and sell. Where are you coming from with this?
Wow. Hearing tariffs are just, at first, I didn't even know what they were. And still, they started announcing them on the news, and we're just pointing at everybody, and we're going to start throwing tariffs on everything. But
well, and to be fair, because we've talked about this leading up to the election.
That's true.
Like most people, you're kind of like, who's running? Okay, give me my 2 seconds of whatever I need to know a day.
Right. Keeping
my head down, working. I'm not getting as deep and involved as Jay has fallen down these rabbit holes.
Oh, no, it's actually a good thing to kind of focus on and know about, because now I get to see what everybody else is crying about or mentioning about or complaining about, because I didn't understand, because I'm not in the market for a car. I'm not trying to buy anything new, but I try to maintain and keep my old cars going. So just crazy. I had to order a bunch of parts for my car, all in from Japan. And now that I'm understanding that these tariffs are from other countries or whatnot can make what I just bought almost 25% more expensive, it kind of makes me nervous, because it's going to make it more harder to maintain and keep control of stuff,
So you just bought some parts, like you said. Did you notice, or was there any sort of did you buy them online? And were there little warnings on each website because of the tariffs and all that good stuff? Or
I think I just beat that because I wasn't.
I mean, you just bought them. I mean, I know they were pushed off. It's today. We're recording on Tuesday, April 15th, tax day.
Oh yeah, happy tax day.
Yeah, happy tax day. Happy you pay more money. But a lot of businesses have kind of proactively started charging, and I don't know if it's real or they're just trying to take advantage of the market, because it's kind of bullshit because they haven't really kicked in.
I would kind of second you on that one, because a lot of the businesses have already have their invoice, their stuff in warehouse, and everything's here. Maybe they're trying to raise those prices to compensate for the restock, because they know in about a month or two they're going to have to reorder, and they're looking ahead. So I mean, product management, that's actually a smart decision, but you don't know 100% if that tariff is going to affect and when, because every time we get to close to it, it's going to be this date. Magically, we get delayed. So I think we need it to happen and be signed, sealed, and delivered, and see what they're ordering, so they can, accurately say, hey, this is how much it's costing us, and this is going to be pushed forward to the consumer because someone's going to have to pay for it.
What about in the car world that you, because you don't really navigate in those spaces as much.
No. So just to kind of get a little background, I started in car sales back in 2017. From car sales, I was promoted to finance. So I ended up becoming a finance manager. One thing I learned in finance, it's all about loan to value. It's about their credit, and then making the deal presentable for the bank to buy it. So from finance management, I made it into finance director. Now you're pretty much just hand in hand with your banks and just trying to really buddy and have them buy your deals and just kind of set them up. Now, if you're applying tariffs to vehicles and you're increasing the price of the vehicle, that price and that money's got to go somewhere. So if your bank is only going to give a customer with an X credit score, let's just keep it simple, 100% loan to value, so they're not putting a down payment and they're just going to walk out, then they're good. But the car, let's say if it's only worth $30,000.
Now let's back up for a second, double click into that. Loan to value is defined as what?
So what the bank is, so they're saying that if your car is worth 30 grand or MSRP is like, let's just keep it simple, 30,000. So the bank is like, okay, they're selling it for 30,000. That's 100%. A lot of times what happens is a car will be worth a certain amount. Let's just say 30,000, but their credit isn't strong enough. So the bank will say, well, we're not giving you 100%. We will give you like 80% or 90%. Make it easy.
We'll approve you for 25,000. You got to come up with the rest.
Your down payment. So now understand, if that car was 30,000, they're only approving 90%. So you got to come up what, $3,000? So now that car is now increased another 25%. Yes, the car is still only truly worth 30,000. If you add a tariff onto it, yeah, you increase the price, whatever that percentage is. But
essentially a tax.
Exactly. But the bank says so. It's only worth 30 grand. So if we're going to put our name on this car, we're only giving you what it's worth. So who's going to come up with that money? And if somebody's in a situation and they need a car, that's when the car deal starts to kind of have to try to make it make sense. Does that kind of?
It does, yep.
So, and I think that a lot of people that are going to be more hurt is the lower credit score people. People that have a real hard time buying cars because now you're at the mercy of a bank because you only have so much money. And now are you getting your full money's worth, or now are you having to get something way less expensive, maybe a little less reliable, but you're still going to be on the hook for that car for what? 3-5 years, 3 to 5 on a used car. And these new cars, they're pushing these loans out from 84 to 96 months.
Wow, all right.
So it's just kind of, I think that the consumer with the more challenged credit score is going to be the one that's going to really take on most of the grind. But now think about this though. These guys aren't walking into a dealership cash money. So they're signing their name on a loan. So all these loans are going somewhere. And typically, are people keeping these cars for 5 years, 6 years?
No, not at all.
So there's a little storm kind of developing in the background, in my opinion, on their loan, their depreciating asset, and everything else. That's where I'm really concerned and my big issue.
But so back to the lower credit score people getting a harder time getting a loan,
right?
Because I've heard that before from other people, and I'm thinking, yeah, but if you have a low credit score, depending on how long you've been around, you could also be considered high risk. So you're already going to come in with a higher interest rate,
right?
Anyway, so maybe the people with this isn't to trigger anybody with a low credit score watching or listening, because you can get a low credit score for any number of reasons.
Right.
You don't have to be someone who doesn't know how to manage your money.
That's true.
I suck with money, but I happen to have a good credit score because I have a good wife who manages our money, but that's your risk, right? That's your level of risk. You have excellent credit, you're probably better managing your money than someone with a shitty credit.
Now let me show you.
The argument would be, okay, hold that thought. So the argument would be, okay, you got a low credit score in today's economy. Should you be going out and buying a new car to begin with, or should you just try to find not even a certified pre-owned, but there's tons of cars on Facebook Marketplace.
My rule is buy what you can afford.
Right.
What that is, only that person's going to be able to determine that. But at the end of the day, it gets hard when you're thinking you can do something and life happens and then you can't afford it anymore. If you're in that kind of situation or that could happen to you, that probably shouldn't be the decision you're making. But not your dad, not your mom. You can do what you need to do. But the other side is the low credit score. That's one thing. That's hard to get in the car. So me as the finance guy, I'm going to find a car to put you in that the bank will approve and make that loan work. Once again, probably not something that you're really craving. The other side of the house is the good credit score people. There's a group of people that know what they're doing when they buy cars, and there's this good score group of people that I just need a car and get out. So I think those people are the ones that are going to show, like, in about 3 to 5 years, if they go in those 84 months, those 90, because now if you have a good credit score, your loan to value, let's go back to that example, the bank will approve now over 100%, like 110, 120, 115. But if that car, once again, is only worth $30,000 and the dealership is selling it to you for 35, now 40 because of markups or whatever the case, the car was never worth that. So now you're on the hook for however long you signed that loan for, and that interest and everything else, and now these supposed tariffs, you're buried in that car. So to the next 3 to 4 years, you're thinking, I'm going to trade this thing in. These people are going to be so upside down. And it's just going to be terrible. They're going to be in a situation where you can actually walk away from a car, but before they report it as whatever, you can go get another loan and then just
let
it go.
And people do that all the time. And when I think about that, I think about the premiums that people pay for cars prior to tariffs.
Right.
I mean, essentially it's a forced premium, the market adjustment. And we know people that, and granted, this isn't your average consumer, but we know people that may have bought the Maserati, the MC20, that really cool one.
Yep.
Or the McLaren 720S when they came out, and they lost their ass on over $100,000, and there was no threat of tariffs. It's just the market.
Right. And that's just that was normal. And now you're trying to increase it X amount of percent with tariffs and expect these people to take on these loans. I mean, I just think we're playing with fire here.
Right. Yeah. And then the average consumer. So so Toyota.
Okay.
So Toyota said that they are going to absorb the difference for the consumers. I don't know how long that is. You have a kind of a smirk. What do you think that really means? Because I know that there's room. It's like, so what I do, healthcare IT, or any temp. Right? You can say any temporary service, whether it's manpower, I don't know if they're still around, but any temp service. I'm basically a well-paid temp.
Okay.
And so when I work for the hospital, the temp company calls me and says, okay, the hospital's hiring, they're looking for people like you. This is how much they're paying.
Gotcha.
I'm like, all right, well, let's say I make $15 an hour. I don't. But
yeah, you do. No, $14.99. No, I'm joking.
But let's say I make $15 an hour.
Right.
The billing rate is the delta because the company that's hiring me, my consulting firm, is billing the hospital $25 an hour.
Right.
And they're turning around paying me $15 an hour. That's a $10 delta.
There you go.
That's, I don't know what the math is, 35%, 40% of my money. And so I think that's why Toyota, they understand that. So it's like, okay, they're going on volume based here. If we can still sell, 400,000 vehicles, that 22% or 20% or 15%, whatever it ends up being, it's a loss for us in our pocketbook. But since we're profitable, let's say we made $3 billion last year. So now we're making $2.7 billion or whatever it is. We're still making $2.7 billion. Our customers are happy. They're still going to buy from us. So they've been absorbed that part. And that's one of the arguments that I've had with people. They say, okay, and I'm not an economist. I'm just some person, right?
Yeah, that's all we are. Yeah.
That's all we are. Yeah. So I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert in any of this shit.
Right.
So for people who are blowing up the comments and all that shit, I'm not an expert.
Please do.
Chances are neither are you. But they're like, well, who do you think that cost is going to come down? It's going to come down on the consumers. And yeah, it will come down on us. And, maybe we see it or maybe we don't. But if it costs them 25% more, they're probably going to split the difference in most cases with the consumer. Hopefully. But I don't think they're going to, if they charge you 25% more, because have you seen the viral video clips, and we're getting off of cars really quick, but have you seen the viral video clips well, I already know you haven't, but because you don't live on social media like I do. But there's the viral video clips of all these factories in China.
Okay.
Getting on TikTok, getting on whatever. Well, they don't have TikTok over there because they're not allowed to have TikTok, which, interestingly enough, They're not allowed to have TikTok or our Facebook, but they're getting on whatever their social media is and they're uploading, maybe X. And they're like, my name is whatever, and I'm working in the Lululemon factory. And this is how much Lululemon actually pays for this stuff. They pay $5 for these pants. They're charging you $100 for these pants. If you want them, they're the ones that are screwing you, not us. If you want them, you could buy them direct from us, and here's my number. So there's a huge, huge profit margin there. And we already know that.
Right.
I think I watched someone do a video on the Birkin purses.
Right.
It costs, Birkins are what, $30,000 purses? I don't know why we know about purses, but
because we have wives.
We have wives, exactly. It's $30,000 purse, $35,000 purse.
Right.
And it doesn't cost $10 to make, but it costs about $1,200 or $1,500 US to make. Like they went through and showed all the stuff, but that's still quite the delta.
Right.
So if a company like Birkin or Lululemon is going to increase their prices by 15, 20, 30% to combat the tariffs, who's really getting screwed here? They have the room.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. That's my only point.
No, that was a very good point to make because at the end of the day, every dealership, every I've worked at, they're all for profit. So if that's going to cut into their profit margin, it's not really that big because they have their profits already built into a lot of their vehicles. They know what their holdbacks are. They know what they need to sell it for. But if a company's telling me, oh, yeah, we'll absorb some of that, you can move the numbers around a little bit to make it look that way. But at the end of the day, they still got a profit margin they have to make sure everybody's checks are getting cash or they can cash everybody's checks or whatever. So I would have to look into the structure of the deal a little bit more to really kind of see what it is because I've seen people that they move numbers from one side of the deal to another side of the deal and they're the happiest person. And then for some reason, they're paying way more money than the other way it was. So
So you just made me think, okay, on how they kind of move the numbers around. And it's the same deal when you're getting ready to sign for that car, right? They're like, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take an additional $3,000 off. We're going to pay that for you. Right. We really want to make this deal with you.
Right.
So we're going to buy it for you today. If you secure this car today, we'll take care of that balance for you to get you in this vehicle.
Right.
Because they know on the long end, they're going to make money off the financing. Because we all know that you're paying up until at least halfway through your loan, you're paying all interest.
Interest, baby.
And the principal doesn't start kicking in. If you guys want to be depressed, if you're financing anything right now, the easiest thing to look at is a car, right? If you're financing anything right now, go ahead and look at your payments over time and look at what went toward the interest and what went toward the principal. And you will be shocked if you've never paid attention. Yeah. Like, wow, that $700 payment, the first 30 payments, 650 of that went to interest.
You know what's funny? When I've ever had people in the box is our office and our finance, like when people are there and they get to that final page, all finance guys, car guys know, and they're seeing the box of how much they're paying. And they might start with just say a $30,000 vehicle. And then at the end of the loan, it's like they paid $70,000,
right?
At a whatever payment. So they see that number. So then the first thing that people think of, they're like, wait a minute, if I'm paying $70,000, I should go buy a $70,000 car. I'm like, no, that's not how that works.
Right.
So, and then I'm like explaining the numbers to them. And then it just really shows you like who's paying attention to what and who knows what, because it's not about like what you can get into. Once again, like I said, it's what you can afford. And I just be like, okay, just sign here.
True. Let me pull up this story that I sent you earlier.
Yeah, that there. Okay. Let me tell you. So you sent me the story, right? And I saw the screenshot first. And I was like, what? But you had just talked about the other tariffs on the other podcast before.
Right. So a couple episodes ago, I'd mentioned that but Honda had committed to building the next generation Civic in Indiana to counter the tariffs.
Right. But what ended up happening, I guess the screenshot, what did it say? It was like...
It says Honda to boost U.S. manufacturing, shifts production from Canada to Mexico in response to tariffs.
Right. So when I read that, I'm like, oh, snap. But then I actually went to the next one you sent me, was a link, and it was like, it was confirmed that Honda didn't say anything. But I was looking at the picture, and then I went to the article, and I'm like, dude, this could have ran like wildfire. And then, no, when you actually get to the information, it tells you, no, they're not. That's not what they committed to.
Honda denies reported plan to shift production from Canada and Mexico to U.S. in response to Trump's tariffs. That's actually updated, and that was updated at 3:38 p.m. So, at the time I send it to you, this is the New York Post. So I was looking at some of their shit, and I'm like, these are some wacky ass headlines.
Okay.
So now it was a little unclear because even before I sent this to you, I was like, let me find this somewhere else other than on X.
Okay. So, like that article, and that's what it said it denied. So then again, I was looking at it from the point of view of like, whoa, look how fast information can go the wrong way. But then again, how much time did it take you to? Or it was.
You think this was CNN?
It was them updating it. So it even the headline had probably even changed by the time I even got to the link.
I mean, we already produce 70% of the Hondas here in the United States, and the Honda does plan on boost over the next 2 years. But another part of this was Nissan was halting production.
Well, where their sales at? Are they needing the cars?
Well, they were halting production on some models because to counter the tariffs. But that's my initial thought. I was like, wait a minute, aren't they in a bunch of trouble right now because they can't sell anything?
Okay, so listen, it's good to know that they're halting production, but there's so many different avenues of understanding why a company's doing what they're doing. One, if you're not selling something, why keep making it? That's the first thought, right? Two, this is going to become more expensive, and we're already not selling it, so let's just stop the bleeding now, right? Next is there's a lot of cars sitting on lots right now. There are a lot of like 2023s and 2024s that are still getting some what we call lot rot. So I think Stellantis vehicles, like their Dodges and Jeeps and stuff, are probably one of the culprits right now. And I used to work, do that, and I know how that stuff works, and it's just a lot. But with the failed merger or idea of a merger between Nissan and Honda, well, okay, once again, they were doing that to try to help save what? Nissan? So I just think there's a lot more information behind the scenes. Like if I really want to get into the nuts and bolts of it, I want to look at their sales over the last year. I'm going to look at their stock price over the last year. I'm going to look at the sales of each one of their cars. So because I want to understand, like, why would you make this business decision?
So, so they have the Rogue, that Rogue. Mm-hmm. What was that car? It's either Nissan or Toyota, but it was like a convertible SUV. It was ugly. So we just got back from Long Beach. Shout out to Acura. Absolutely. Shout out to, obviously, Farasot for being a Southwest representative. Shout out to Vince for hooking it up. With all that being said, this was your first Long Beach. I went last year.
Right.
I opted not to take a lot of photos or videos, just make some notes.
Right.
Last time I did like a full vlog, wrap-up video, and it was fun, but it feels like it would basically be the same video 1 year removed. So I wanted people to experience this through your lens, and your points as we kind of talk about it. So let's talk about it, man.
So Friday, I guess that's day one, right? Okay, so I have an interesting way to compare the Long Beach Grand Prix. I've never been before, but a long time ago, I was able to participate in a NASCAR event and went to that race a long time ago. So that was an interesting crowd. I've also been to a couple F1 events, so in COTA in Texas. So that's a different racing crowd. So this Grand Prix, my experience was, I want to say, right in the middle of like bring this a little closer. Yeah, about how they how they prepared for the race.
Right.
I saw their box office; it looked good, but if you go to like a different racetrack, you can see the different levels, and that one being a street track, so we know everything is kind of pulled in and built up and everything else, but overall, for what it was, I was super impressed, and I had a really good time. I think even though it was 3 days, it felt like I needed more time to take in more of everything, and I don't want to. I say overwhelmed. It's a good thing, but man, I feel like I still missed out a lot, and I want to continue to go back and try to pick apart and do a little bit more.
Well, that's it. We're done talking about the Grand Prix. You blew your whole load on that little segment. Let's crack open some notes.
Yeah.
But I drove out with Nathan. Nathan of Spark Forge, actually, a show sponsor. and his car is more than capable. Like, I know he takes it on the track all the time.
Right.
So it's not like I'm not judging because I know he's, the car is well engineered. As weird as it looks to some people, it's
Right.
actually very capable and put together. Right. But when we're flying up to 10 in a semi, because they keep their shit on cruise control.
Right.
And so as they get ready to run up the ass of the next semi in front of them, they whip it over. Mm-hmm. And this guy whipped it over almost as I was getting ready to pass him.
Okay.
So I would say slam on my brakes. I had to do some aggressive, braking. Thank God it's brake by wire. It just feels different. Yvette's freaking out. She does this weird squeal and locks up her knee. Her knee's already puffy. And when she gets done, she's like, "Oh, I just made my knee worse." I go, "What was that? What was that squeal? Like, what was that?" And we just started laughing because I don't know what that was. But if she was ever in trouble, you wouldn't hear it. But then as we're pulling into the area,
Okay.
so we're on the 10. I think at this point it's the 60 that peels off into maybe the 90 or something. Does that sound right? Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. So we peel off, and there's a truck.
91.
A 91.
91,
yep.
yeah.
There's like an older white SUV. Because it's starting to get dark now.
Right.
Because Nathan doesn't have his headlights on. That's why I know. And he pulls over, cuts Nathan off, cuts across the gore point, and almost runs me and Yvette off. So I have to do this quick correction because I see it in my peripherals, this thing like right here. And thank goodness, like Yvette said there wasn't a car next to us. There was, but it was a little further back.
Right.
But if that thing, like I could have swerved into some other car.
That's true.
And so she's freaking out. So that was our trip there. We get there at like 8:30-ish on Friday, and you and Leo are already there.
Yeah.
How was your drive over?
My drive, actually.
And it's about 6 hours, give or take.
My drive was actually okay. Truth be told, I actually broke my car right before the Grand Prix. But
what happened?
I'm an idiot mechanic. That's what happened.
Weren't you in charge of helicopters in the military?
That's why I'm admitting right now I was an idiot. I did something I really wasn't supposed to be doing. I was trying to do a really quick fix. And anybody that knows that torquing bolts, there's a reason for a torque wrench.
Real quick, because we touched on it, and we'll get back to you, and I apologize for interrupting you on this, but I know I'm going to forget this thought. We touched on it Thursday night.
Yes.
As a helicopter guy, I don't know how much information has come out with the latest crash.
That's the one where the rotor system separated.
Yeah, so I saw a video after, and you could see the helicopter flying normal, but it's too far away. And I said that. I said, at some point, a video is going to surface from like a surveillance camera or something, and you can see the helicopter you can see the point of impact, but you can't see what caused it.
Right.
Do you know anything? Have you looked into that? What is your thoughts?
I saw the video. I saw the rotor system separate. I don't know what would cause that or happen. So I don't know if it was hit by another aircraft, or I think the rumor's a drone or something like that.
Maybe a larger, because drones, like people think about drones being these little things that people take to these car events, but there are some big fucking drones.
And if it hits at a certain point, I mean,
maybe it doesn't matter how big it is. Like a drone that has a surface space the size of a laptop minus the rotors is probably big enough to do some major damage.
Right. And you got to think about this. If the rotor system's held by a bunch of like rods and stuff like that, let's just pretend it's the force of that rotor, that disc above the aircraft. I don't know. Let's say it hit in between the rotor system and the fuselage, right? A little tweak on that massive amount of force, it'll probably just rip it apart. And it just separates. Because you got to think, a helicopter, to me, when they start up and they're flying, I feel like the helicopter's trying to pull itself apart. It's just everything's kind of holding it together, and maintenance is crazy on it. Everybody that's aviation might know that.
Right.
But I didn't get into it, and I did not want to find out maybe it was a maintenance issue or anything like that. I don't think it was. But all this stuff will go back to somebody, and I just feel bad for whoever was in.
Yeah, rest in peace. There were 6 people, the pilot and a family of 5 from Spain, which is the CEO of, I think, Siemens in Spain, his wife, and his 3 kids.
That's a really sad end. Rest in peace, man.
No reason to believe or think of any sort of foul play with the conspiracy theorists. But who knows? I haven't looked that much into it. But, so this is coming from, and again, tell the people what you did in the military.
So in the military, for the last, 10 and a half years, I was a UH-60 Black Hawk crew chief. So I was pretty much an aircraft mechanic.
So a Black Hawk crew chief, a mechanic, tell us what happened to your car.
Well, a couple of days before, I wanted to prepare my car for this because I'm going to have 3 solid weekends of being in my car. One was going to Grand Prix with the Acura. The next one is coming up this weekend for Fountain Hills. And then we have a weekend after we're supposed to go back out to California for West Fest. So I ordered a bunch of parts of one I kind of mentioned earlier in the show, but I wanted to get everything fixed. So I swapped out a few parts of my car. Everything was good. I noticed a small little shit to my steering wheel. So me thinking, well, it was only 4 bolts. Let me undo everything and just look everything and see what maybe I screwed up. So what I ended up doing was the dumbest thing ever. If anybody knows about steering, those 14 millimeter bolts, studs underneath any Honda steering wheel, I know they're sensitive. Everybody's probably laughing right now because, oh, you know what you did. You broke them off. Yeah, I sure did. So how that happened was had my torque wrench
those
to the
aluminum?
right.
Or are they steel?
No, I know. I had the torque
No,
wrench.
are they aluminum or are they steel?
No, they're steel. But they're just 14 millimeter. But I should have done what I did. But what I did is I was upside down. If you know the NSX underneath the footwell is a very tight spot.
Oh, yeah.
So
That sucks.
I was upside down, slid underneath, and my torque wrench was outside of my car. So I figured I was just going to cinch the bolts down and then get out of the car and then get my torque wrench and just hit and be done. Well, my dumb ass was sitting there quarter turning the nuts, trying to cinch them down, and I never really felt the sharp rise in torque because I was just kind of going back and forth. And I got to the second bolt on the inside, and it popped off. With the force of it popping off, the other bolt was already over-torqued, so it just snapped. And the steering wheel pretty much, me upside down, fell down and hit me in my chest. So me, being a mechanic, I was like, okay, I screwed up. I got to do a lot of work, so I did something I probably should not have done. I found a way to secure that steering wheel back to the framework of the car inside to just get my car to Long Beach and back.
What day was this?
This was Wednesday.
Okay. And you guys left Thursday.
Yep.
Morning.
Yep.
All right.
Listen. If I tell people and people go out their way to do anything for me and I put my name, I say I'm going to be somewhere, I am going to fight tooth and nail and honor that. Because they didn't have to do anything for me. I put myself in that situation. And if there's a way to work through it, I'm going to make it happen.
Right.
But great. My NSX community came together and they kind of gave me some other options. I got the car back out here and now it's getting worked on. So that's done.
All right. So you make it to Long Beach.
Oh, yeah. So it made it to Long Beach. I decided to wash my car. But we all know our NSXs are pretty low. So there's a car wash about 20 minutes away I wish I had the address still, but I remember getting off of Avalon, I think, and it was on the corner of the street, but I had to kind of case the block to kind of check the right angle to get up into the car wash. I realized the only way to go in was the wrong way. Yeah, so I knocked that out, went in the wrong way, washed the car, and then because of the broken steering wheel, it took me forever to do a turnaround inside the car wash. Got that taken care of.
What year is yours? 94?
94. Yeah.
Okay, so you have the electronic power assisted steering?
No, that's 95 and above.
Oh.
So I am all manual, baby.
Right. So you made me think about something that I was going to rant about, and now I get to rant about it.
Let's go.
Now, wasn't there a song, It Never Rains in Southern California?
Yes, there was. By Tony? Is that Tony?
I think it's Tony. Theirs might have been a remake. I don't remember if theirs was a remake of somebody else's, but my point is, I hate driving my NSX, in my old NSX, in Southern California. I do not understand, if it never fucking rains, why are all the entrances and I guess exits of so many buildings such a hard angle? The gas stations are the worst.
Yes.
I've done the car wash thing before. I hit my Type S a couple times. When we were leaving the barbecue spot that night, getting back on the highway. Did you hit that too?
It did.
What the hell was that?
I don't know. I got you. I know exactly what you're talking about.
As soon as you get on the freeway, it's like, oh, bam!
Yep.
Me and Yvette were like, damn, what the fuck was that? Like, I do not understand why Southern California roads are so shitty.
You know, what's sad, man, being originally from California, born and raised, I always used to be like, California roads are great, this and that. Nope.
There's some in some parts.
Yeah, but dude, I can't believe how bad the roads are and the shape it is. I don't know what you guys got going on or what they're doing with your registration money, because I believe registering your car in
I can
California,
get really political with that, but
dude, have you seen the registration prices in California? Anyways, we ain't
we're talking about the money. Where's the money going?
Exactly. It's going somewhere. I'm just saying.
Right.
And in Arizona, I don't know how they're set up, but they take care of their roads and stuff here. Granted, we might have a freeway closure every other weekend or whatnot, but the smooth road is worth that sacrifice, in my opinion.
I just don't understand those ramps.
Yeah.
In and out. Like, you have to do that. You have to circle around and think about. I mean, not you having the cars that we have, and a lot of people listening or watching this understand that you circle around and every time you go past a driveway, that's the first thing that pops in your head.
Yep.
Ooh, if I was slant, if I was in my other car.
Yeah.
Because even going over some of the swells of the humps in a parking lot,
Right.
I think I hit. I think we were driving to Ryan's house, somewhere around Target. You know, it's kind of the same deal. It's like, kook, and you go to a crawl. It's freaking annoying. So you damaged your car, you're in a car wash. So, we go to the Grand Prix.
Yes.
What was that like for you? Friday and Saturday, you could combine all the days.
Well, to me, it was a great.
And then what did you see that you really loved a lot? And then feel free to check your notes if you have
Yeah,
notes.
absolutely. So it was all a learning experience to me. It was new. I really liked the fact it seemed like there was so much to get involved in. I mean, the vendors, you had, so food everywhere. You had just event after event, just other DJs. There's just so much that was happening. It was like I felt like I was missing out and I needed to be everywhere. But then you were like kind of stuck in a position because what you were observing, like the race, the practice, the screen, you're like, I don't want to move from this because I'm enjoying what's going on right here. So
like in the Acura Lounge, right?
The Acura Lounge. So the Acura Lounge was really cool. I mean, right. I know we also had grandstand tickets as well, but the seats and the view from where we are in the Acura Lounge was amazing.
It's hard to beat that.
You're right there on a big high-speed curving turn. I think it was turn 1. You have right when they pass turn 1, it leads you right into the big screen that's right there to your left. You watch the rest of the race, and then you just flow right back to the cars coming back around on the track on turn 1. So it was a really great experience to watch these with that.
Yeah, it was really close. And I think you and Leo had more time, to kind of wander around a little bit on Sundays. And I commend you for that because I want to do that, but I always run into somebody that I need to talk to or want to talk to. And it just becomes hanging out with your buddies in another city, which I'm fine with. I welcome that.
Right.
But it's hard when you're sitting there in the lounge or at one of the tables up by the bar and you're just chatting it up with your homies.
Right.
Because I like racing, but I couldn't name 6 people out there across all those different courses.
Right.
Those race cars, I like seeing them. It's cool to have them in the background. But I do wish that I had more time, to your point, to just kind of sit back and enjoy it. Maybe go down to the grandstands. And I don't think anybody used those tickets because if you're in the Acura Lounge, there's no reason to go down to the grandstands.
Right.
Because you have the seats there.
Right.
They're bar seats, essentially. And you have literally a bar behind you. Sometimes they're walking around with hors d'oeuvres.
Yep.
And then, like you said, you have those vendors. I mean, we went to the food court the last day, the one behind us, and there were some good options.
Yes, there were.
Like there's not bad food at this event, and it's huge. It takes over the entire corner of Long Beach,
right,
from the convention center back to the pier, and it's just. What did you guys think about the pits? Because you've gone to Formula One, which I've never done.
Right.
You've gone to a few other things.
Right. Well, comparing it to Formula, it's just two different. They're different. Formula, you can just see how much more money is pumped into F1. Boy, it's tremendous. But at the end of the day, the experience of watching the cars is kind of like the same if you're really into the cars.
But when you go to the pits, though, I mean, how different?
Well, the pits, I've never been to the pits at Formula One, but when we went to the ones here, they were a really good setup of just kind of walking around and looking at the cars. So when we went after AOA racing team. They won. So I wanted to go see their car, Rexy.
And that's the Porsche. Green.
Yeah, it's the Porsche. It's a GT3 Porsche.
Tell us why the Porsche is important to you.
Okay, so kind of backing up on Friday, my grandson was able to. Him and his dad were able to join me.
You're a grandpa?
Yes, I am.
Damn.
Grandpa Paul.
Nah, just kidding. Yeah.
But they joined us at the race. Now, my grandson, he is a huge dinosaur fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of, because he was a dinosaur fan, a couple of weeks ago, I had started kind of watching like GT racing just to pass the time, and I saw this livery on this Porsche that just made me think of my grandson. So if he's going to get into racing, and I hope that he does one day, because he's only 4, I'm like, maybe this will be the car that I can kind of see if he takes a liking to, since he likes dinosaurs. Come to find out, they end up winning that weekend.
Right, it's crazy. And they ran on Saturday.
Right.
Yeah.
So that became the highlight of my weekend. I know Indy was Sunday, but man, I was on cloud 9 on Saturday. So, and that's how we ended up going to the pits and then watching them do their after when they come off the track, they did their weighing and everything else. They started doing their inspections and whatnot, and it was a really cool experience. I've never been that close to the actual race cars, and it was a lot of fun and a lot of things to look at and take in over there.
Well, if you guys went into the paddocks, right, the pit pass,
yeah, there you
it's
go.
the same deal. You're literally right there. Where you guys were over by the green Porsche, I've never been over there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's when you guys are said, hey, we're over by the scales. I'm like, I don't know where that is. I had
Gotcha.
to stop and ask somebody. And I was close. But that's just so much stuff to see, right? There's so many vendors there. Like you said, there's so much food there. There's a paddock. And then we haven't even talked about inside the convention center.
You know what's messed up about the convention center? I kept getting stuck in, I think, on the beginning areas of atrium. Is that
the main atrium where all the Acuras are set up?
I kept being stuck there because I was just mesmerized by all the exhibits and displays that they had there.
That exploded Type S.
Oh, I know you're gonna probably insert a picture of it or whatever, but man, that is dope. And to really see the internal engineering and just kind of how it's all like exploded out and just to really take in what they've done with that car. Beautiful.
So if you're listening to this, what they did is they took an NSX Type S, a Gotham Gray, and they dismantled it essentially, and they had it on kind of a display to where it looked like it was in the middle, like seriously a transformation.
There you go.
From Transformers. The wheels were shot out. The headlights were kind of floating by themselves. The hood, the front bumper, everything was kind of floating. And it wasn't spread across like. Have you ever seen the Bodies exhibit where it's kind of morbid with the humans where they slice them up, look like ham?
Every layer of skin to the muscles, so you get down to the bone or something.
It's like a slice. So it wasn't as spread out as that,
right?
But it was probably a 12-foot left to right, or however long a car is. It was just a little bit longer, to be fair, right?
Yep.
And I guess they were trying to hang them from the ceiling, and they said they couldn't, so they built a stand for it.
Right. The fire marshal shut it down. It was like, no,
right.
You ain't hanging that up there.
But you had the ARX car. They had Peter Cunningham's, one of his cars in there.
Right.
All the HRC stuff, and God, what a time! What an incredible time to own an Acura.
It was beautiful, and you know what? For them to take that time and then bring everything out and to show it that way, big ups to Acura, man. I mean, I was really taken back to really see the care and everything they put together for us. I mean, it was their 50th anniversary at the Grand Prix, and I felt they came with it. If for them to keep me with their equipment and they had everything going on in the exhibition hall, but I found myself running through the exhibition hall and coming back and finding something new in the exhibits that they had.
You could spend 4 hours in the convention center easily, right?
Right.
I went last year, and it was cool. But what was your thoughts of, so you get to the Grand Prix, and you're walking around, and all you see is Honda and Acura stuff everywhere. Did you ever thought you would see that?
No.
Because in your mind, it's like, okay, I'm going to go to this event, and I know it's sponsored by Acura. Right. Okay, I know it. But you think you'll see all this Porsche stuff, maybe all this Ferrari stuff, some Honda, some HRC stuff here and there.
Right.
65-70% of the displays were all HRC and Acura.
It was beautiful.
I was like, wow, this is cool. This is us. I'm part of this.
Exactly. And to have a little heritage with that company. And it was a beautiful thing to kind of step back and just say, hey, I'm part of this,
and access to the people.
Yes.
I think I said this when we were sitting in the lounge. Is like, I don't know what company, being in the NSX club, I don't know what car manufacturer you would have that close of access to the people. I know Ford is really good,
Gotcha.
Ford Motorsports is really good in interacting with their people.
Right.
But, and there's always a one-offs. Like I think I said this, you can go to Monterey Car Week, and if you go to the Quail, you're going to see Koenigsegg there with all his people.
Right.
You're going to see Pagani there with his people. But it's still not the same.
No.
You're not going to walk up and have like a real conversation with them. They'll talk to you,
Right.
but you're going to be one of 1,000 people. But when you talk to like the John Acadas, head of HRC,
Right.
and Steve, who was up there talking, or Andrew in charge of Acura PR, it's a real conversation.
Right.
I saw Jonathan. So Jonathan Rivers, Kelly, and Jody, we met them as we were walking out. Like,
Right.
Those are real people.
Right. Up there on the food chain.
They're
for
way
Acura.
up there. and it's organic. Like, those are your people too. It's
Right.
not just some corporate BS. Like, they are legit into you and you're legit into them.
That's true.
And I just don't know of, what other company you would have that with.
I think what was really kind of took me back, and you think about it, is when we had our 4:30 meeting on Friday, and we heard a lot of the higher ups. I can't think of the
Vince came out.
Vince, yeah. Vince, when he kind of shared his story about, hey, he was pretty much like us,
He's had 3 NSXs.
and now he's growing up through the ranks and working for the company, so he's gonna like work for us as much and help us out with what things we're trying to accomplish with our club, with the car, everything. So I was really taken back to hear that they have that love, because a lot of people, I don't know, when they make it up that high, did they come from being an enthusiast, or were they put into that position to drive a certain number,
Right,
or
right.
get something out of people because maybe they're a connector, but
Yep.
they're not really connected to that one piece of equipment as they are.
Sure.
And it shows, because they actually care about us too. Hey, what do you need? What can we help? Oh, thanks.
Well, it's like the gentleman, I forgot his name, so please forgive me, who was doing the main the main speaking where we had met at the parking lot with the accent.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I looked at him as kind of a consultant because he kind of identified himself as kind of a third party.
Right.
That Honda pays a lot of money to make sure that the connections are made and people kind of understand what they're trying to do. But even he obviously had a lot of passion for it.
Right.
But yeah, man, I just think it's amazing. One of the things that I wanted to point out about the exhibit hall is being able to see the Honda Zero Saloon EV. Last year they had the Prelude there. This time they had the Honda Zero, and it's a lot smaller in person.
Right.
I thought it was like this, not really big, but maybe like a Tesla is the Model Y is the egg, right? The kind of the SUV-ish. Is that the,
Right.
is that the X or
the
the
one that
Y?
opens up? X is the one, I think, the one that opens up like a bird or something like that.
Yeah. I don't even know if
Tesla
they still
fans,
do that, but
you guys correct us if we're wrong.
Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about Tesla a little bit, but I guess we missed our window on the car news. I'm gonna jot it down anyway. But that thing was pretty cool. Now, I don't understand why when people design EVs, they have to make these super crazy wheels for them.
They trying to be efficient. Well,
Like just throw some split fives on there.
I don't listen. Remember with the Cybertruck, didn't they have those covers on there to make them a little bit more like aerodynamic or efficient? And now they're messing up.
Those
tires.
are the ones that look like cutting the tires.
Yeah, so they had to pull them off. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's in the design phase that they have to incorporate this design type of wheel, but yeah, like you said, they can go to some stock wheel or something else to make it look a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's
acceptable.
not just Honda. You see it on all these EV
everybody.
concepts. Yeah.
Which call it? Remember our Friday lunch at Dublin? Was it the Dublin or that?
Yeah, that was Friday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Got to give a great shout out to Jeff, man. He hooked it up.
Bartender Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, by way of Ryan.
Yeah. Only reason we made it is 'cause
Ryan
of
knows everyone. Yeah.
Dude, so bringing up Ryan, right? Great time at his house. I want to say, hey, shout out Ryan. Thank you so much for the hospitality. It was awesome. When we exchanged numbers the day after, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is Ryan, and what's weird is he sent me his info, and it was Ray, and then Ryan, and then his last name. And I was looking, and that's why I asked, hey, April 12th, were we over at Ryan's house? He's like, yeah, that was April 12th. What's crazy is my brother that passed away in 2013, his name was Ray.
Mm.
So his birthday was actually April 12th. So for Ryan to kind of send it, and then for me to see his name was Ray.
I guess that was for like a split second. You're like, wait, what?
So that's how it all lined.
Am I in a simulation right now?
Listen, I'm gonna have that conversation with Ryan when we go back for West. I'm like, bro, and I gotta show him because I only knew him as Ryan, so I never really thought of it. When I saw Ray, I was like, man, almost teared up, bro, when he sent me his info. I was like, oh man.
Right. Well, professionally, he's Ray, and so a company he used to work for, he would do these these telecom events.
Uh-huh.
And so when he would come out here, he's like, hey, Jay, I'm going to be in Phoenix. Come out and hang out. And so I hang out with him. He's like, okay, this is a work function. If anybody asks, my name is Ray, and you're one of our, not clients, partners.
Gotcha.
He was your partner. And it was always awkward. That's the only time I'd ever known him as Ray, because there's always Ryan before that.
Right.
So it's like, how long you known Ryan? Or how long you known Ray? Oh, yeah. But then they started, so what business are you in? And it's like, oh, yeah, I forgot what it was. Dead ass one time. Somebody asked me a question about the business, and I was just like, and just kind of walked off like I just did not hear them at all, man. It was awkward as
Hey, good way to play it off, though. Because you could have put yourself in a deep pool and been like, well, I do. And then they start asking, and then you're like, you know what, I give.
Yeah, because there's only supposed to be partners there because it was kind of like an open bar type of deal, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, he takes care of people, man. He and Barb, his wife,
yeah,
such great people. Yeah, I stayed with him last year when I was there.
I can see why.
Yeah, yeah. They're like, when do you want to stay with us this year? Our house isn't good enough for you.
Nah, I got a bunch of people with me this year.
They were
that's
joking
all.
with me, but I'm like, no, if it was just me, I would have stayed there. But Yvette, I was like, no, we're gonna get a hotel, man.
Exactly.
Because they have kind of it's in her office or his office is kind of like, I don't remember if it's a bed or like a sofa bed type of
Gotcha.
deal. There's a significant difference. Us, we're like, all right, I'll sleep on the fucking couch.
Right.
But
I don't know what comedian said it, but it's like when our wives commit to going, the whole price of the weekend just like triples.
fortunately, no, but sometimes yes, right? Sometimes yes. Shout out to Katella Bakery.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed what I had was the omelet, and my wife, she had this sandwich with this focaccia bread. I didn't even know what that was, but I guess she was in love with it. Now check this out. It was crazy. We ordered our food. I think it was, what time did you guys show up?
I don't remember. Way after you guys.
Not really, because what was crazy is what she ordered, that bread was out within the 15, 20 minutes that you guys showed up. They had ran out. But that bakery was awesome. Everything was super fresh. Everything was delicious. And I think that's going to probably be our little staple every time I go back to that area.
You'd almost have to. Weird deposit. I got random notes here, okay? So we both stayed at the Residence Inn.
That's correct.
This one was different because when you checked in, they wanted you to pay an extra deposit, which is crazy.
What was it, like 300 or something like
that? Yeah, it was
that?
like 250, 300.
Yeah.
And then you had to sign this thing. It's like, I will not party. I will not this. I will not that. And I'm looking at this lady check me in with her mask on her face. I'm like, this is freaking California. I go, hey, is this just your guys' policy or is this like a California thing? Like, I'm not upset. I don't mind. I got the money. I knew the deposit. I was just asking.
Right.
It's like, no, it's just our policy. I was like, oh, okay.
Here you go.
Weird. But you were taken back by it too. Lucio's barbecue. We did that on Saturday or Friday? Friday, right?
That was Friday night. Okay, that's right, because we did Saturday night was at Ryan's house.
Yep. Shout out to, I have it all written down here, Chris, Jeff, Jason, Dre, Leo.
Yep, we here.
Barb, Ryan, Kat, Mexi, J, Tuck, Valeria, Janet, and James.
That was smart for you to take notes of everybody else at the table.
And Nate, Trent, Lamar, and Brian.
I'm so sorry, Nate. I was calling you Nick for the longest. I'm admitting.
That's hilarious.
Hey, listen.
From now
I'm
on, you have
sorry.
to call him Nick.
No, I am
He'll
now.
roll with
And
it.
he's going to look at me and just like, uh-huh. But
No,
anyways,
he'll roll with it. Yeah.
he was doing it for a minute until he corrected, and I was like, oh, my bad, bro. So I'm sorry, Nate.
Right. But only you can call him that.
No, hey, I won't do it no more.
But it was cool that Trent was there just by weird chance.
And then my wife got mistaken to be your wife.
By Janet.
Yep.
I got a note here. So when we're walking through the convention center, and I don't think you guys are with us during this time. This was our second trip through.
Okay.
So we're opening the car, sitting in the cars, like the FL5 Civic, and my wife sits in there, and Trent sits in there, and all of a sudden she comes out, turns around, and she starts digging in the back. I'm like, trying to check the trunk from the back seat. There were kids who had crawled into the back of the Civic.
What?
And they were like, "Hey, can you help get us out of here?"
No way.
I was like, somebody need to watch their kids.
What?
So she puts her and Trent are like turning around. They flip down the seats, and these fucking kids come crawling out of the trunk.
Oh no.
They were white too, so they weren't illegal. They weren't Mexican, But it's like, what the hell, man? Like, people need to watch their kids. And I'm watching these kids run in and out of all these cars. I'm like, damn, how long were these kids trapped in the back of that?
I know, how terrifying is that? Like, you're not getting out. Like,
can you please help us get out of here?
I would have freaked out. Like, dude, how long you guys been here? What happened? How'd you even get in here? Show me, and let's make sure you don't do that no more.
Shout out to Joseph Gatt, who I wanted to introduce you to him, but you guys weren't around when he was around. Mm-hmm. But friend of the show.
Joseph?
Yep. Friend of the show. He was supposed to come back on the show and kind of give me like a full access interview about all the stuff that's going on with him.
Okay.
Gave me a lowdown for about an hour on the phone prior to the event, and so he's still working through a lot of that stuff. Mm-hmm. But it was good to see him.
Wish I could have met you, Joe. I will next time, brother.
You'll meet him at some point. Yeah, you'll meet him at some point. So when I was walking to give Nathan his parking pass the last day, my boy Victor was there. I got to send you Victor's. I didn't tell you Victor. He's an actor.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, so when he left Garland, where we grew up,
Texas,
like the first 10 years, he was in a bunch of movies.
Okay.
Now he just makes his day-to-day by just doing commercial spots. He's like, I'll get stuck playing the dad now, but he's like, whatever. So every once in a while, if you're paying attention to what's on TV, you might see him in a commercial.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen him in a few commercials. I got another boy, Reggie, who's been on the podcast, and
I remember that one.
So he's known by a lot of people for playing Sergeant Sims on Call of Duty. He's like a recurring character. But he's also, I see him, he's been in a few TV shows, and I see him in commercials every once in a while, so it's kind of cool.
If I remember correctly, that was when they were having the strikes.
Yeah, that's when he was on. Yep, the SAG-AFTRA strike. That's the last time Reggie was on.
Yep.
I don't have him on that much. He's down all the time, but we don't see eye to eye on the GOAT conversation.
On who? What GOAT? I only know of one GOAT.
There's only one GOAT conversation, non-football. Okay, so we're talking basketball.
You're saying MJ then. So you're going with MJ.
I'm Team Jordan. He's diehard LeBron.
Okay.
And, we don't need to get into that.
Do you think that's fair? I mean, if you look at, are they two GOATs in two different eras? Or do you say the sport altogether because of these rules?
Here's what I'll say as a diehard MJ fan. I don't buy the GOAT in two different eras conversation because it's still the modern NBA.
Right.
There's a significant difference from the Bob Cousy days, and you can't convince anybody on this earth that there isn't.
No, there's a big difference.
There's a huge difference. Less teams, less players, less athleticism. It's not a black or white thing, but come on. I mean, Bill Russell was great for his time. Given his size, there's no way. Everyone's bigger.
Yeah.
Not even just stronger and faster. Everyone's just flat out bigger. Maybe he's Ben Wallace in the modern NBA.
Blending in.
Yeah, Ben Wallace was a great defensive player for a while.
But
I don't know. But you can't take anything away from MJ. You can't take anything. I mean, LeBron could adjust to any. I'm convinced that he's never going to be my GOAT for a bunch of different reasons.
Give me your top two. He's not the GOAT because this. I just need to know top two so I can kind of understand. Because I'm a data guy and I believe
he's a compiler.
Yeah. Okay. So he's going to look strong on data.
And statistically, he's not good in any actual category that he leads. But so what do I mean by that?
Yeah.
He can't shoot. He's never been able to hit free throws.
Okay.
So that's data. You can say clutch gene, that you can't quantify clutch gene, but you can see it. And so a lot of the GOAT is visual. It's like, okay, who's the GOAT, Barry Sanders or Emmitt Smith? Because the data will suggest Emmitt Smith because he has the most rushing yards.
But Barry Sanders
just did it better than anybody ever.
And if his career wasn't cut short, he would have had a lot bigger numbers.
He cut it short on his own.
Right.
So I mean, but I can make an argument as much of a Jordan guy as I am,
Mm-hmm.
I can make an argument for LeBron being considered a GOAT because there will never be another LeBron James. There's never going to be another player that comes in the league as a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
plays 22, 23 years at a high level.
That's true.
The game is different, but he takes care of himself, takes care of his body.
Mm-hmm.
He's soft as hell. I don't care what anybody says, but that's just how the game is. He's allowed to do it, and no one's ever going to do that. And there's something to be said about that because he's not like he's just been in the league for 23 years. It's not like he's, and we're getting way off subject here, but it's not like he's Udonis Haslem, who played for the Heat for like 30 years.
It's true.
Haslam rode the bench like the last, 8 or 9 years of his career and was a player coach. He's not that. He's an active, very active player, puts up points when he needs to.
Mm-hmm. Helps lead teams when they need him or to lean on him a little
usually,
bit.
Usually. But at the end of the day, who don't want to have the ball in their hand? LeBron is way down that list.
Right.
Because he just, he just ain't it. So I probably just given you like 5 reasons.
You did, and I was like, wow, you really done your homework. So
I know my stuff.
You must be having this conversation with these LeBron friends that are coming off.
No. But I met. We'll get right back on track. But I met Reggie without really knowing who he was, because when they did The Last Dance, I had 5 episodes on this podcast where it was a panel thing and I was a moderator. Mm-hmm. But I also joined Victor's.
Gotcha.
He didn't do a podcast, but we did a Zoom call after every episode or 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. And so Reggie was one of the people I was debating.
Oh, man.
We were going at each other, man. We were going at each other.
Well, hey, but big ups to you, because I still think Jordan is one of the GOATs because how the game was played then. The game's a little different now, in my opinion.
It is different.
And I'm not really that much of a basketball guy, but to me, it was a lot more involved back in the mid-90s. It was just interesting. Everybody was like going in. Now it's a little bit more to me like a finesse type of game, and it's not as like gritty as it kind of was when it got to those last quarter, the last few minutes of a quarter. Now as far as like MJ, the reason why I see MJ as the GOAT, in my opinion, one, watching him play growing up, I could not quote stats and all that stuff, but just the way his presence was on the court, it was an evolution over time. And it was like, even though in the very beginning when he was taking those clutch shots and missing and just doing little things, he never shied away from it, and he forced himself to get better and better and better. He
challenged himself, yeah.
And he did. And there was times when the team should not have won the games that they won, but he took it in that era and willed his team to win ring after ring after ring. So that right there is a little why I look at him a little different than I do LeBron. LeBron's in a system that's catered to the way that they play. So as long as you understand how to game the system, like how was who's the guy? Harden?
Most overrated player in NBA history.
Right. Like, once again, can I do what he did? No. But when you look at some of the points that he, was able to receive from certain type of fouls and things that he did or and-ones or whatever, you're gaming the system. I don't care what nobody says. Yeah. And you're nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But take advantage. But is that really true what was happening back then? That wasn't happening in the 90s and 80s. People were getting knocked over and like, whatever. Pick up and let's go.
Yeah. If you're down 6 points, who do you have more confidence in? You know what I mean? So it's just like I never threw that out there, but I'm throwing that out there now. It's just like, and you already know the answer. It's a rhetorical question. But Long Beach.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we got into that.
It's easy to get into. Did you? Okay, so when we were walking out, we saw the Coco Zarita ZDX Type S.
Okay,
that white car.
Yep,
that thing was sick,
dude. Like I'm really liking what Acura's doing with their new line. It's really looking clean, edged up, and really like the next level. I think one of the complaints that I had over like the last 5 or 10 years with Acura cars, when you get inside of them, I felt like I was in a Honda still, or it just wasn't on that next level, like how you would on a more premium brand. But looking at the vehicles this weekend, all of them are on display. I was having my wife was like tapping me on the shoulder, like, "Hey, I really like this. That's really clean. That's really like refined and refreshed." So, whoever the design team for Acura, hey, you need a raise. You did an amazing job. Thank you for presenting those vehicles. I think if anybody has never been, it's a great experience to go. Please go. Don't give yourself time. There was a lot of exhibits, a lot of things to venture into, get into, and take your time. I tried to take as much as I could in, but I think I want to make this an annual thing and really start to develop a relationship and learn more about Indy racing itself.
Sure.
Like I said, I stumbled across GT racing on that, and I really wish I knew more about that team. But it was really cool to know that, the team is fairly new. The AO Racing or WeatherTech Racing Team, whatever, they're really new. But, just getting involved, cheering for somebody, and then seeing all the different styles of racing too. That was fun, man. I just think that a lot of people get a lot out of it.
I was going to say, it's cool that they have different series.
Yes.
I don't know how many they had, maybe 4 or 5, because they had the trucks too.
That's true. Trucks hitting the ramps.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was wild.
That's cool.
See a truck like literally on 3 wheels rolling around the corner and then hitting a ramp. And then you're watching them like, hopefully they're landing straight because I'm a couple cockeyed. They would kind of take off to the wall, man.
Last year I went down to basically where they run, compliments of Peter Cunningham, of course, always taking care of a brother.
What up, Pete?
And, he took me down there and we were like right there where there's a line in front of you. As long as you're behind the line, you're good. When the race started, you had to get a little further back.
Right.
But, no, because they had the guardrail, because you have the kind of the lane and then the thingy, and then the track. So they were still jumping 30 feet in front of us.
Wow.
And it was pretty awesome. Somewhere I have video of that, but I'm going to echo that. The whole experience is cool, and I would like to go back. And what happens is you end up, it's fun, but it's even more fun because you're with your friends.
Right.
And we have so many friends because of what we do as far as NSX drivers, and the car family is just so huge.
Right.
One of the things Yvette said after we had dinner at Lucille's barbecue was, wow, your NSX friends out here are really cool. She goes, for the most part, all your car friends are cool, because there's always like the awkward dude or the girl
we'll work with them.
The girl that other girls don't like for some reason.
Right.
Some
personality differences.
Right, exactly. And I don't know who that would be for her, but I just when you said most of you, then
they weren't hanging with us this weekend because everybody got along. So
that's what I said. When somebody's a diva, they get kind of weeded out really quick.
Right.
And I told her, you could swap out, you could add 10 more people, or you could swap out 10 people, and the vibe would have been just as good.
Absolutely.
And there's something to be said about the cliche of family, right? That's family. Hey. You can have what you want as long as it's a Modelo. That's what we have in here right now.
Yeah, that's it, baby.
But yeah, it was excellent. But the thing is, when you have all the friends, it's harder to really roam around, because you move to the next booth and you talk for 20 minutes. You move to the next booth, you talk for 20 minutes. Got to go to the restroom. Everybody as a group goes over and stands by the restroom. And I had a good time, but because what happens when you go in the convention center, the big part is you kind of snake your way through there.
Right.
And then you get in the middle aisle, and then you just all go one way, and then there's stuff to the right, there's stuff to the left.
It's hard,
there's stuff
man.
behind you because you cut in early. And it's just a little bit like one more day.
That's how I felt when even Sunday. I know I wanted to sit, but I know we were trying to get back. But I could have done like one more day in the exhibit hall and really taken some more information and just looked at more of the exhibits that they had there. There was so much going on. Even I was really captivated by their little simulation rig that they had set up. Man,
they have a big room for the kids too.
See. Didn't even see that part.
It's got all the bounce houses and all that shit, and there's even more like vendors in there too. Yeah.
See, I got to make sure I get.
So from the main atrium where they have the exploded car,
right?
If you would have gone left, behind the big screen, there's an entire other section of the convention center.
So passing the nuts, the guy that had all the.
No,
nuts.
that was right.
Okay, so he had to go the other.
You go really? The other way.
I never went the other way, bro.
I know.
So
you go the other way. Right. Yeah, you missed it. Yeah, you missed the opportunity to stare at other people's kids while you bounce up and down in the jump house.
No, that's weird, bro.
It is, yeah. But we went that way before.
Right.
Like last year when Peter took us around. But yeah, man, that's Long Beach 2025.
I can't wait for
it was
the next
a great
event.
time, and then hopefully we can do it again next year.
Absolutely. If Acura will have us back, man, hey, I'm down. Just let
You
me
can
know.
go even if they don't.
I'll buy my tickets. They say, hey, I'm been sold. I believe the pricing of everything is perfect.
I think the general admission wasn't too bad. I don't know. Like the grandstand tickets that we got were about $200.
They're grandstand tickets.
Yeah.
You don't have to go grandstand.
But, shout out to Vince and Farasot and Acura for.
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, we got them. Like we
Absolutely.
we didn't pay anything.
I'm not complaining.
For the parking pass and everything, but it's worth paying for.
Right. One thing.
It's funny, Jay Tuck was pissed because he didn't get. So we're walking around, and he's looking at these locals. He's like, "There's no way those 3 girls. Look at them, man. There's no way they paid the money to get in here. There's got to be a local hookup. Look at that woman. Look at those old people over there." I'm like, "Yeah, probably. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe the general admission tickets are like $20. Like, I don't know."
Well, maybe they paid and had a hookup or some other way, but
Right.
they got here, bro. They found a way.
And it's just apparently it's just a place to go. Because when you look around, it's clear there's no freaking way everybody there are race fans. No way. Like I said, I don't know that much about the series, and we were there.
But it was like, it's the experience. It's an event for everybody to come together. And like you were saying, I know it sucks because you're like trying to move through and it's conversation. But we live busy lives. And when we get around our friends, it was like, dude, that's our time to kind of catch up.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, man, I wanted to spend that time, but it's like I still got to move around. So I completely.
You find a table and you're sitting there for an hour, and you look up and there's, Jay and his fiance way over there. And you're like, man, I haven't even spent any time with them.
You don't want to feel bad because you don't want to walk away. And then you're like, dude, I still want to go see something over here. Then you're like, it was a lot.
But anyway, we're going to wrap this up. Let me get that sheet in front of you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Before we officially put the can closing, I want to thank my Patreon business supporters, Kuya Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida, Pale Construction out of Caledonia, Michigan, Beak House Small Home Design out of Ashburn, Virginia, and Traverse City, Michigan. I could actually do this better if I just re-recorded the canned ending, but I didn't. So,
really,
Shea Bros out of Boise, Idaho. They are new-ish, sort of. It's West Tankersley. And did I say Automotive Specialty Tool? I don't know if I did, but Automotive Specialty Tool out of Owings Mills, Maryland. So, for Dre Mullins, Andre, Dre Day, I'm Jay Pfenning, and we will cue the official closing. Hey guys, I want to thank you for stopping by the podcast. If you like what you saw today, go ahead and hit that like button, hit subscribe, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. If you're streaming the audio, please consider subscribing and leaving a positive review. Believe it or not, that does help the algorithm tremendously. And if you're in a position to help the podcast upgrade, please consider joining the Patreon, patreon.com, Hard Parking Podcast. For as little as $3 a month, you can get access to bonus audio as well as Patreon exclusive swag and free show swag. Also, special thanks to the main show sponsors, Wright Honda, Wright Toyota, Toyota of Huntington Beach, Claremont Toyota, and Gardenia Honda, Arcus Foundry, Auto Cannon, officially licensed Honda and Acura gear. Your support makes all the difference in this show. And if this is your first time checking this out, and if you truly enjoy this show, share it with the world, and I will talk to you all next week.
Now it's stripping time.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Shut up!